Hello friends, and welcome to this very bookish video. Today I wanted to just sit down and recommend 12 books. Not recommend because I haven't read 11 of the books. I wanted to sit down and talk about 12 books that I'm actually going to be reading this winter and that I thought maybe you would like to read as well. I found some great description of each of these books online, so yes, I have not read them, but the idea of them makes me really want to read them, so I thought I would share the descriptions with you so that way you can decide if you would like to read them as well. I don't have an order of how I'm going to tell you about these books. There are multiple different genres, and we have some dark academia, we have some folklore, we have some nonfiction. It's just a hodgepodge of different books. So I'm really excited to talk about these. I was thinking because the days are getting shorter, the nights are really long, we're spending probably more time inside because it's so cold. I thought this would be a perfect time to talk about some of these books, especially with all of these books having a very cold atmosphere. Most of them have some sort of snow in them. I thought this would be a perfect time to talk about these books. So make sure you grab yourself a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. I have a little bit left of my coffee here, and get comfy, get cozy, because we're going to talk about some books. And like I said, I'm going to try to keep it quick and nicely packaged, so I do have my notes in front of me so that way I can read them. So don't be worried because I am looking down quite a bit, but just because my notes are on my lap. So let's go ahead and jump right in. We're going to go ahead and start with The Bear and the Nightingale by Katherine Arden. I have heard so many YouTubers talk about this book, and I've actually got this about 2 years ago because I love the premise of it and I thought it sounded so delightful. And I just absolutely love the cover as well. I think it's absolutely gorgeous, but it also sounds really good. And I'll tell you about it now. So, The Bear and the Nightingale by Katherine Arden. This is a historical fantasy mixed with a bit of folklore. It's set in a frostbitten wilderness of medieval Russia. This enchanted tale weaves folklore and history as Vesa, I don't know how to pronounce her name, a brave young girl faces mythical creatures in an encroaching winter. The vivid descriptions of snowy forests and magic makes this a perfect winter read. So, we have a young girl, we have magic, we have descriptions of these beautiful wintry forests. I love a book filled with creatures. I love when books have in-depth descriptions of different creatures and different things, and just these ideas of how creatures can be intertwined, and they're normally just like animals, but they're all like meshed together. So you have a pig fish bird. I don't know what you would call that, but it could be an animal or it could be a creature, not an animal, creature. But I love the idea of reading about a young girl in cold Russia and being surrounded by magic and mythical creatures, and I'm really looking forward to reading this one. I'm definitely planning on reading this one this year. It's been on my list and it's going to be read. The next book, a lot of you probably have already read, but I have not. And that's The Secret History by Donna Tartt. And I haven't read this just because it's just not been on my list to read next. But I'm diving in. I'm going to read this winter. I'm really looking forward to it. As most of you know, it is a dark academia psychological fiction. This dark academia masterpiece unfolds among a group of college students whose lives unravel after a murder. With its wintry Vermont setting and its moody atmosphere, this book captures the dark and contemplative side of the season. So we don't even just have like a murder mystery idea. We also have dark academia. So we're most likely in a university. From what I've heard, we're in a university. My partner actually read this one and he really enjoyed it, and he's been trying to get me to read it ever since. And we have multiple different characters. We have this balance between these people interacting with each other, but we also have this very wintry, dark atmosphere in the background as well. And I think that's going to be so perfect, especially since I'm going to be taking a train, a very, very long train this winter. And I think this will be absolutely perfect for that train ride. So I'm really looking forward to it. If you have read this, let me know in the comments below. Let me know if you liked it or didn't like it. I would love to know kind of your opinion, but please do not put any spoilers because I would like to read it without getting spoiled. I don't know what's happened. I've gone so long without knowing what's going to happen, and I would like to read it before I know. All right, now we have One that I haven't read, but I've read another book by this author, and I absolutely loved that book, and it's East of the Mountains by David Gutterson, and this one's Snow Falling on Cedars by David Gutterson. So this is definitely another kind of thriller. It's beautiful. I really like the cover. I think the cover is really pretty. And then the idea of just snow falling on cedars is really pretty, but it is not a pretty novel. When I read the other novel from this author, East of the Mountains, it was very moody and heavy, but beautifully, beautifully written. And so I'm really looking forward to picking up this one because I feel like the writing style is going to be just the same. And I fell in love with David Gutterson's writing style. I would read multiple other books by him, and I've only read one. So this will be my second. My notes about this book say, this is a historical fiction mystery. And what I have written is, it's set on an island blackened by snow. This evocative novel combines a murder mystery with themes of love, loss, and racial prejudice. Its cold, atmospheric setting mirrors the emotional tension, making it an introspective winter read. So, this one might be one of the heavier ones, but it also sounds so good. It's really going to be beautiful. I have read the back a couple times. It does take place in 1954, and I'll just read you the first sentence on the back, so it might get you a little bit more excited, because I know some of you probably have not heard of this author, but I highly recommend him. So the first sentence is, in 1954, a fisherman is found dead in the nets of his boat, and a local Japanese-American man is charged with his murder. So, I mean, how could you not want to read this book? So I highly recommend picking it up so that way I can talk to you about it, because that'd be great. One that I don't think many of you probably thought I would read, and I'm picking up not only because my partner has highly recommended it to me, and he has asked me to read it. It's a science fiction. I haven't read too many science fictions, but I've been wanting to get more into the genre because I do think there could be really amazing books in that genre. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little worried they're gonna get really complicated for me, but I feel like I got this. This one is The Dark Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin, I believe. This one is kind of like an old school book. The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin takes place on an icy planet of Guthan. Generally, A navigates a culture with unique gender dynamics while journeying through endless snowfields. This thought-provoking science fiction novel is both a philosophical exploration and a tale of survival against harsh winter backdrops. So there are a few things I know about this book because my partner has told me about them. I do know that the people or the beings, the things that live on this planet are gender fluid. So they're not male or female, they're one gender unless they want to have a child, and then they are able to have a child by choosing a gender to be able to reproduce. It does sound quite fascinating. I'm not really sure where to go with this one, but I think it would be a really, like the little note said, it's going to be a philosophical exploration, and I really love the idea of it on a winter backdrop because you have this very intense topic mixed with this very cold atmosphere, and I think it's going to be really well done. Michael really recommended it, and he's asked me to read it, and so I'm going to pick it up, I'm going to read it, and it's going to be one of the books I read to get me encouraged to read a bit more sci-fi, so looking forward to that one. The next book I have already read, but I'm going to recommend it because I just want to recommend it to you. It's a fun book. I enjoyed it. I read it a couple years ago, and I'm sure a lot of you have already read it as well. But if you have not, and you've been wanting to read by this author, I know I'm fishing for you. If you've been wanting to read from this author, then I think this is a good book to start with, and that's Stephen King, The Shining. I know, Stephen King. But this one was actually really well done. I really liked this book. I thought it was creepy and uncomfortable. I enjoyed the movie, and I still really love the book. They have slightly different stories. The main idea is the same, but how the story kind of unfolds is a little bit different. And I really loved how the book kind of unfolded. I still have a note about this one because I want to kind of keep the rhythm and also the rhythm and also kind of the structure of a really provoking and intense sentence to make you want to read the book. So, The Shining by Stephen King. As winter storms trap the Torrance family in an eerie overlook hotel, Jack descends into madness, driven by malevolent forces. The snowbound isolation and the chilling atmosphere amplify the winter vibes in this philosophical horror classic. So, I recommend this one. I thought it was really well done. It's also one of the shorter books from Stephen King, so I think this one's one that you can actually pick up and then actually have a chance to finish. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was really well written in the sense of the anticipation, the thrill, and also the characters are just really well done as well. So I recommend it. I think it was delightful. Now we're going to talk about a couple books I actually don't have in hand. These books are books I've read about, I have also heard about, and I'm just looking forward to picking them up this winter. So I'm going to be popping up a picture here so you can see which book I'm actually talking about. But I figured we'll go ahead and dive in because I can't talk too much about the books themselves. But book number 6 is The Winter's Tale by Mark Helprin. This one's a magical realism romance book. Normally not a book I would pick up, but because it's very wintry sounding, it sounds really cute and delightful, I think I would like to pick it up for a nice feel-good book. So, this sweeping magical novel set in a snowy, turn-of-the-century New York City tells a story of Peter Lake, a thief in a mysterious white house. Themes of love, time, and redemption blend with the richly atmosphere of winter settings. So we have this from all the other books we've talked about, this is going to be the most richly happy book that is on my list. And this is probably going to be the more cozier books I've recommended. I wouldn't say it's the coziest book of all times. This one's going to have a little bit more of upbeat and more of a happy forward movement compared to some of the other books I've recommended and some of the other ones I'm going to be recommending. The next book is number 7. This one's The Snow Child by Owen Ivy. I hope I pronounced that correctly. This is a mystical story with elements of fairy tales. This actually takes place in the 1920s in Alaska, and a childless couple builds a snow girl who seemingly comes to life. This emotional, magical tale is steeped in beauty and harshness of winter, perfect for readers seeking both heartache and wonder. So, as I had mentioned, the book prior is more probably going to be your cozy love story. This one's going to be one that's going to pull at your heartstrings, but I love the idea of, I think that's one of the reasons why I really love the Traveling Cat Chronicles and a lot of the other Japanese literature, is because there's this realness to the story of real emotion and real pain. And this one, no, it's not by a Japanese author, but it does take a very true and difficult problem that a lot of people face, and it brings it to a little bit more of this reality, but with a bit of magical realism. So we still have that balance between hardship, but also love and reality and pain. So it's gonna be one that's gonna make me cry, I'm positive, but I'm really looking forward to reading it. It sounds really beautiful. Number 8, Burial Rites by Hannah Kent. This one is a historical fiction. If you know me, you know I love historical fiction, so don't be surprised that there is one on this list. This one is set in the hauntingly beautiful landscape of 19th century Iceland. This novel follows Agnes, a woman accused of murder, as she awaits her execution during a harsh winter. The stark, snow-covered setting mirrors the story's somber and reflective tone, making a chilling atmosphere read for winter. So, as you probably have picked up a theme, I have quite a few murderous books on here. I don't think I planned that. I think it's just happenstance. But neither of us are surprised here. I think that's also books that have that kind of like dark, somber kind of feeling. They most often take place during winter because you have that darkness that winter unfortunately brings. As you have probably noticed, it's gotten darker in my apartment. It's just, I have these bright lights behind me, so it's brighter, but it's only 4:30. So it's 4:30 and almost dark outside. So with, I think, those more, the fact that it gets darker, the fact that it's colder, it mixes really well with those somber, dark, ideas and themes that we get from some of these books. So I'm not surprised the murderous themes kind of fit with the dark, wintry days. I mean, a lot of murder mysteries take place in Seattle. I'm from Seattle, and it's rainy and cold. That's what it is always depicted in those murder mysteries. So, but this one sounds really interesting. I love a good historical fiction. I also love something that's going to be a little bit more intense, and I love the fact that this one's a murder mystery mixed with a historical fiction, mixed with this intense, wintry theme and atmosphere. Number 9, Wintering: The Power of Rest and Retreat in Difficult Times by Catherine May. As you can probably imagine, this one is a nonfiction and a bit of a memoir and a bit of a self-help. So I've mentioned this multiple times. The winter season can be really hard on a lot of people. I know I'm not the only one that has a really hard time during the winter season, and sometimes it's really good to kind of reconnect with yourself and refocus on yourself. So I love to recommend books that talk about how we can do that, and then also find a little bit of happiness in these more colder, darker months. So this thoughtful memoir reflects on life's inevitable winters, both literal and metaphorical. Catherine May shares how embracing rest and introspection during tough times can lead to healing, making it a comfortable read during the colder months. So this one's looking a lot at past situations, things that can be difficult for us, and then how we can come to terms with them. And I really love that idea, especially when somebody is writing it as a memoir, because it's not just like, hey, this is how you fix yourself. It's, hey, this is what I've gone through, and this is what's helped me, and maybe it can help you. Broken by Jenny Lawson is a lot like that as well. It felt, when I was reading that book, a lot like, hey, this is what I struggle with, and maybe you struggle with these things too, so maybe these things that I do could also help you. So I'm hoping that's what this book is also about. I haven't read too much into it, but I've heard good things, and I'm looking forward to picking it up, especially during the winter months. I think it's a great time to kind of read about how we can better move forward with ourselves and better focus on ourselves as well. All right, back to other books. We have The Call of the Wild by Jack London. This is an adventure classic fiction, and this one follows Buck, a domesticated dog, as he navigates the harsh Yukon wilderness during the gold rush. This gripping tale of survival and transformation is rich in winter imagery, capturing the raw power of nature and resilience. This book is about a dog. I mean, how could you not want to read a book about a dog? I mean, okay, I do have to say, all the books I read about animals, most of the time, 100% most of the time, they make me cry. Like, Racing in the Rain, that made me bawl. And I read that on a train in public. So I love an animal book. I think a lot of the times they're very powerful, very beautiful, and I'm looking forward to reading this one as well. If you also like animal books, put a little animal emoji in the comments below. I would love to connect on those animal books. I mean, I read the Traveling Cat Chronicles. I'm also right now reading The Goodbye Cat. So what more can I say? All right, book number 11, The Gentleman in Moscow by Omar Towles. I've read a short story collection by Omar Towles, and I really enjoyed it. I think it's called A Table for Two. I thought his short story collection was really well done. I thought it was invigorating and interesting, and his writing style is just filled with wonderful descriptions. So I'm really looking forward to reading this one. This one is a historical fiction as well. And the little snippet. This elegantly written novel follows Count Alexander Rostov, sentenced to house arrest in a luxurious Moscow hotel. While confined, the Count discovers the beauty of small pleasures and human connection, making it an uplifting, cozy read that's ideal for long winter evenings. So if you've been looking for another cozy read, this is one that you might be able to pick up. I know it sounds a bit weird because we have a man in house arrest with a cozy book, but I mean, why not? It sounds interesting, and the fact that we have probably him interacting with so many different characters and so many different people. I really love character-driven books, and this definitely sounds like a character-driven book. We're going to be probably in the hotel the entire time, just interacting with other things that are happening around us. And I think that sounds like a lovely novel. Maybe I'll read it on a train. And then book number 12, the last book of this collection, also another kind of memoir, cozy nonfiction novel. Sorry, I love memoirs, I love nonfictions. I think they're really nice to read, especially if they're a little bit more lovey books. And this one's called The Little Bookstore of Big Stone Gap by Wendy Welch. This one, I think a lot of you would really enjoy. This charming memoir chronicles the author's journey of opening a used bookstore in a small Appalachian town filled with quirky characters, uplifting moments, and a cozy ambience of bookish life. It's a feel-good read, perfect for winter days spent curled up indoors. So we had 2 nonfictions, memoir type books on here. One's going to be reflecting and coming to terms with our life and kind of being okay on these darker winters, and the next one's going to be a very cozy, wonderful book that's going to kind of make your heart feel joyful, hopefully. That's 12 books that I want to read this winter. I'm probably not going to get to all of them, but I'm going to try, and I think they're going to be absolutely wonderful. 11 books, sorry, The Shining does not count. You have to catch up with me. But the other 11 books really do sound wonderful, and I'm looking forward to reading them. I hope you found a book on this list that you're looking forward to reading as well. I would love to hear which books you have read or which books you're wanting to read that I recommended. I'm going to list all the books down in the description below so that way you can find them really quickly. But I hope you enjoyed this list. If you did, I would super appreciate a like. Make sure you subscribe if you want to see other videos like this, or baking videos or other cozy content videos. That's what I do. And thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with me. And I hope you have a lovely day, a wonderful winter, and a wonderful, lovely weekend. So until next time, you guys, ciao!